Hello there everybody, it's Mr. E here, and today the video is all about creating the custom HUD, the custom UI that you can see in the center of the screen there. If you are interested in setting this UI up, which I mean you must be, you clicked on the video, there's actually two ways to go about it. The first is to become a channel member for only $5. Click the join button down below, and bada bing bada boom, you'll get access to the Dropbox that includes all of my mod downloads and my mod settings, all 40 plus mods that I have, and that includes the UI itself. So it'll come working out of the box. You'll be all set to go within about 5 minutes or so. And if you don't have that money, or you just don't like me that much, that's perfectly okay. That's what the video is for. I'm here to step-by-step guide you along the way. We're going to go through each of the mods you'll need to download, as well as showing you how to set each layer of this up. It's kind of important, even if you have the mod already installed through my download, to understand how it functions in case you need to tweak some stuff to your own liking. So with that being said, let's begin. The first thing you'll need to do is go to nexusmods.com and download 5 mods. Those 5 mods are Better Buff Management, Crosshair HUD, Custom HUD, HUD Tweaker, and Numeric UI. So hopefully you can just rewind the video and go through that again if you missed what I said. But you will need all 5 of those if you want to make a UI that is identical to what I have here. Okay, first things first, guys. We want to go ahead and start trimming down. Once you get this all installed, we need to start trimming down the clutter that is on our screen. As I remember, when I first installed Crosshair HUD eons ago, there's a bunch of bullshit on the screen that you can't really see past. It's very, very cluttered. So what we first need to do is go into Crosshair HUD, and we're going to deselect a ton of these options, and we're going to get the options set to what I have here. But I think first it bears explaining what you're actually looking at on the screen so you can understand what the different elements are. On the left side there, that little left parentheses, that is actually my health bar. So you can see when this guy wails on me, I lose some health, and you can see I'm not at full health, so it's yellow. On the right side, that is my toughness bar, and the cool thing about my toughness bar here is that it appears red when it is at any percentage except for 100%. And that means that I can take a hit from melee and not take any damage when I'm at 100% toughness, just like that. So it's a great way to tell at a glance whether I'm missing just a tiny, tiny bit of toughness and I need to regain some more, or whether I'm good to go into melee with reckless abandon. Okay, cool. That being said, what else do we have in here? We have our health kit indicator. We have our stim indicator, color-coded of course, so you can tell what we have. We have a grenade indicator. The grenade indicator is also color-coded. It is at red when you are at your maximum grenades, yellow when you're at high grenades, green when you're at low grenades, and blue when you're at 0 grenades. This allows veterans and RBDs who are regenerating grenades to know, okay, I need to throw a grenade pretty soon because I'm actually wasting potential by not getting rid of these grenades, especially if the number is red. That means you need to throw one immediately. On the bottom of the hexagon, we actually have our dodge counter, showing how many dodges we have. Below that is our ammo counter, the reserve and our active in magazine. Above the hexagon, you can see it for just a second while I reload, but that's the reload indicator telling you how long you have left in the reload. When I block, you can see my stamina bar, and below that is the buff bar. So you can see here, oh, I actually got to hit an enemy with that, huh? Oh, there we go. There's all my buffs. They're populating in that bar right there. Okay, and I think that's just about everything. Oh, and of course, the hexagon itself is the ability indicator that's normally in the bottom left of your screen, and it has a timer in it, so you can see exactly how long it is until your next ability is up. Very, very cool to have. Okay, now that you've downloaded and installed those mods, we need to first start by cleaning up some of the information that the mods are displaying so that it's only displaying the stuff that we absolutely need. So that means that we need to go and target 2 specific mods. The first one is Crosshair HUD. I'm going to scroll through my information on Crosshair HUD, and you pause the video where you need to and change the settings to mirror what I have. I cannot simply spend 8 hours explaining all these settings. Just copy exactly what I have, and I'm going to scroll through this nice and slow just for you guys. You can see I have the health settings on with the scale at 1.6. This is where you can change the color of your health. You want to make certain these display permanent health text and health text values are off. I don't know why this scroll bar is so jerky. I'm sorry, it's not me. I promise you I'm moving smoothly. Jesus. Toughness settings, similar. Just reversed. Coherency settings are off. Ability settings are off. Ammo settings are on. The icon is off. Pocketables, that's your med kits and your ammo crates, those are on. The scale set to 1.0. Sorry, I have to reposition my hand here. Stim settings on. Peril and overheat are off. Grenade settings are on. Grenade icon is off. This is where I have the different colors set for my grenades. Reload settings are on. Ally settings are off. Doesn't matter what's going on below that. And then psyker indicators are off. Okay, so hopefully you were pausing at some point along the way. If you saw something that you didn't get copied down, go ahead and get it copied down. If anything is turned off, you can skip it entirely. Just copy the stuff for the things that are toggled on. Okay, the second thing we need to do is we need to come down to numeric UI, and we need to copy these settings here. So health text on, toughness text on, level, ammo text, peril percent, peril icon, ammo's percent off. Dodge count needs to be on with these settings, number of efficient dodges, fade out, etc., etc. Ammo HUD needs to be on with these settings. Ability cooldown HUD needs to be on with these settings. And that's everything you'll need. Okay, so that's all the settings. You can change it to be as it is there, and there you go. Okay, so now that we have those settings set, those are the preliminary settings. Everything that is on your screen is the stuff that you have left to play with and get it into the right position. So you've got all these disparate elements. I'm certain that your little crescent moons for your crosshair HUD are probably all over the damn place, but they should be roughly the right size, the right color, the right shape to fit where this hexagon is ultimately going to end up. Let's go ahead and get our little hexagon, the centerpiece of our whole thing, prepped and put into the right position. And now you can center it wherever you want, right? You could say that perhaps maybe you think that's a little bit too low. Maybe you wanted it to be a little bit higher. Maybe you want that UI, but you don't want it perfectly centered. You just want it off to the side somewhere where you're more comfortable looking. That's all up to you. Based on where you position the hexagon, we can reposition it to anywhere. And you can reposition all the other elements too. It's just a matter of spending a little bit extra time to do it. So the first step we need to do is just make certain that hexagon is empty like that. That's our ability indicator. So how we're going to do that is we are going to open HUD Tweaker. HUD Tweaker, you should bind it. I bound it to the plus key, so let's go ahead and open that up. What we'll need to do is look through here, and we'll look for the one that assigns its text to the ability icon. So that is actually HUD element player ability. Okay, so we'll open up this little drop down here, and then we have a couple options. Since we have that cooldown timer in there now, thanks to numeric UI, we can actually tweak the cooldown timer. We could change everything about the text that's in here. We could change the spacing between the numbers. We could change the font of the numbers. We can change the color of the numbers, whatever you want to do. For now, let's leave this alone, and let's focus on the ability itself. So this is where it actually gives you the information. So the icon is what we're looking for here, and you see that I have that unchecked. So we can go into ability, icon, and uncheck visible, and there you go. That'll make the icon invisible. Now another tweak that I've done that you can tweak to your liking is what's called the frame glow. That's this little aura that's moving around here, letting me know the ability is up and active. I like it this nice little cyan color, but you can make that any color you want by simply doing this drop down here under frame glow and then tweaking these values here. The first, these are RGB, and this one is the intensity, the A value for how bright the color is. So I have it set to cyan at 255, 0, 255. Okay. So there you go. And you can change everything about this stuff. HUD Tweaker is a very, very powerful tool. If you want to make a very cool custom UI, I'm certain that with HUD Tweaker, you could make a lot of very interesting tweaks to your HUD and get something really cool cooking. But this is just a very basic setup. So let's go ahead and close that out. And now you should have an empty hexagon with whatever color of aura pulsing around it. It should occupy or should populate a little number in it once you use your ability cooldown. And now all we need to do is get everything into the right place at the center of the screen. And that means we are going to press F3. And F3 is going to bring up custom HUD. Oh boy. I don't know what's going on with this huge background, this combat element feed background. That's a new thing for me since I last did this. So hopefully that is not causing any errors for you. Maybe it won't even appear for you. But what we're really looking for is we are looking for the elements that we need to move to the center of the screen. Notably, that is going to be all the elements to do with our grenade, our ammo, our toughness indicator gauge, our health indicator gauge. You can see what they're called here. When you hover over them, it should give you a pretty clear depiction of what they're going to be. Now, I need to give you a word of warning here. If you accidentally right-click on something or purposely right-click on something, what it does is it gives it this dark gray appearance. This dark gray appearance, that tells the game, do not render this thing. Do not make it appear when your HUD loads. So that can be really good for limiting elements such as the buff bar that's down here. Let's go ahead and do that right now. The buff bar that's at the bottom that normally populates all the buffs you have on your screen, go ahead and right-click it to make certain that it is grayed out and it doesn't show up for you. Because we're going to replace that with a new buff bar in just a second. Don't do that with any of the crosshair HUD elements. So any crosshair HUD element, such as the, the crosshair HUD ability indicator. This is the ability indicator that would appear if you had it active within crosshair HUD, but we don't. We have it turned off within crosshair HUD so it doesn't appear at all. If you right-click these elements and use custom HUD to make them disappear, it'll actually cause elements of crosshair HUD not to load in when you initially load your UI. It's very, very annoying. So that's a bit of insight there as to why that might be happening for you. So just make certain that all of your crosshair HUD elements are visible and then toggle off the ones that you don't want using the crosshair HUD UI, not the custom HUD UI part. Okay, so let's go ahead and start getting things positioned where they need to be. You're looking to get your ammo count, your hexagon itself, which will appear down here, which is going to be called, where is it? It's going to be called this ability. Oh, you can't really see it, but ability something something slot combat ability. Okay, and get those sort of positioned towards the center of the screen. Now the way this works is you click them, and then you just tap the arrow keys. And that's what moves them around, right? So you'll be able to move them, and then you'll be able to come out of F3 and see where they're at, and then you can move them again a little bit more. This is obviously something that's toggled off, but that's just how you would do it. You can even move around your health bars, your allies' health bars, the text boxes, all those things. Anything can be moved with this screen here. And just try to get everything to wherever you want it to be on the screen. That includes your hexagon, that includes your little parentheses, and then position the little numbers inside as you see fit. Maybe you want the dodge count at the top and the ammo count at the top, and then all the information about the grenades and stuff at the bottom. Make certain you're grabbing a health kit and a stim so you can see where those little icons are on your UI, so you can position them in the right place. And once you've got them in the correct places, congratulations, we're on to the last step, but a confounding step nonetheless. And this is setting up our buff bar. So the buff bar is managed by Better Buff Management. And we are going to have to come back to Custom HUD in a second, but let's go ahead and open Better Buff Management. Note that there is a fix to this. If this is not working for you, go check the... Oh, shoot. Don't wiggle the window around too much, guys. I think I just fucked it. Uh-oh. Okay, so now we need to talk about Better Buff Management. You might have noticed a little bit of a cut there. That is my warning to you. When you have this menu open here, don't fuck with the window too much. Don't like wiggle it around. I was being all cutesy and flipping it around just to show where it is. That causes this window, and the one for HUD Tweaker, coincidentally, to freak the fuck out, and it'll clip to the side of the frame, and you'll have to close the whole game to get it reset. So just don't fuck with it too much. Just be very gentle, be very kind to it. Nice buff, better buff management. Nice, better buff management. Okay. The first thing we need to do is create a new buff bar. The way we do that is we type a name in here, 1111. We click create buff bar. There it is, right there. When you drop down this menu, you'll see there are no anything in here. It's a blank square. My buff bar is buff 2. This contains all the buffs that I currently have added on this bar. And we'll talk about positioning the bar in just a second, but we need to then look down here and you'll see that there is a list of all of the buffs in the game. Literally every single buff in the game in a big long line like this, okay? So that is something we need to search through to find the appropriate buffs. So there's two things we need to focus on here. One is how do we find the buffs that we need? And two is what buffs do we need? The first one is how do we find the buffs we need? Well, first of all, we are going to go ahead and add every weapon buff in the game. So the way we do that is we just type weapon, and this will give us every weapon buff. That's all of them. So go ahead and select all of these ones that have this sort of like background like that. Don't select these ones that are the veteran things, just all these ones with the weapon background. And go ahead and do the drop down to your buff bar, whatever you named it, and then click add selected buffs to bar. And bada bing, bada boom. The reason we can add every single one of these buffs is because no matter what weapon you have in the game, you only have like 2 buffs for it, right? Because you only have 2 blessings. So this weapon, when I have my shotgun out, I'll be able to see the buffs for full bore and sustain fire when they activate, but I won't see all these other buffs from all the other weapons in the world. That's the best part about the weapon buffs is you will only have the ones for the ones you have active, and most of them are pretty useful to have anyway. So go ahead and populate them all on there, and that should be good to go. Now, the other type of buff is player buffs. These are buffs that are associated with our talents, and we want to be very selective about which ones we use here. Because if we simply did what the game does and literally every single talent that is activatable or gives you some sort of effect at all is included in our buff bar will be running off the screen into our second monitor. So we need to be very, very selective about what sort of buffs we include. And that means thinking to yourself about, okay, do I need to know whether or not that is on my bar? So let's take, for instance, Breaking Descent here. This is our aura ability. We also have Lone Wolf. This is our grenade regeneration ability primarily. And then we have something like Walk It Off, and we have Retaliatory Force, right? So for the aura, Breaking Descent, this is constantly active. You know when you select a build that has this aura included in it, that it's on your bar, that you have this buff applied to you. There is zero reason why this needs to be occupying space on your buff bar, even though it does in the default game. So we will not select this buff to add to our bar. And remember, our bar is fresh and new. It only has the weapon buffs added to it. It has 0 other buffs. So you will have to pick and choose specifically which talent buffs from each class you want to be on that bar. And I encourage you to be much more selective with it than the game is. So we will not select this one. But what about Lone Wolf? Well, Lone Wolf is a great candidate to have on the bar because Lone Wolf will now allow us to see a buff that tracks the replenishment of our Blitz ability every 60 seconds, which is a great thing to know when you're going to get your next grenade. So that's an auto include. It's a great include. We have things like Walk It Off. Definitely a great thing to include in the bar because if you lose the effect of Walk It Off, well, you'll want to know that you aren't currently regenerating toughness, and all you need to do is spend a little bit of stamina. So push your shield or sprint a little bit. So that's a great thing to include in the bar. And then you can make a debate for something like Retaliatory Force, right? For me, I don't include buffs like this because when I hit a perfect block, that's just the thing I'm going to do either way. I'm going to hit the perfect block and then I'm going to have some damage as a result. Does it really make a huge difference in my gameplay decisions after the fact if I have additional attack speed and damage? No, I'm just going to now play with additional attack speed and damage. I don't look down at the bar and see, oh, nice, I got the buff. It's time to go ham. I'm just constantly going ham, and if I get the buff, that's great and all. But so I'll probably leave that off of the bar in my setup. Things like Things like your keystone, though, these are pretty much always included on your buff bar because you need to know when you have maximum stacks of forceful so that you can appropriately know whether or not adamant will and targets acquired are active. And then you'll need to know what your RBD's vigilant stacks are. So how are we going to add these stacks? I'll leave it up to you to decide which ones you want to be on there. Usually like passive defensive stuff that's just going to be active or not anything based on like my skill and wouldn't trigger any difference in my gameplay, I'll just leave it off the bar. But for stuff that does make a difference and you want to make certain it's fully stacked before you go out and confront the enemies, that's the stuff you definitely need. So how are we going to add this to the bar? Well, we need to go back in here and we now need to search for something to find it within our class. So this just means that you need to search for the class name. This is really obvious for the other 4 classes, Veteran, Psyker, Zealot, and Ogryn. They all have their own normal class names, but the RBD's is named Adamant in the game files. So typing Adamant will give you every buff that appears for the RBD's. And you'll notice that these aren't called the same thing. So this right here, I forget what this is called, but this is something under execution order. It's not called crit chance on kill effect, right? It's called something else. So we need to understand which these relate to in the tree. What I would do is I would open a second monitor, a second screen, maybe pull it up on your phone and look at the talent tree, maybe on Games Lantern, and see what the icons are for each of these so you can understand what you're actually looking at. Otherwise, you can go back and forth a bunch of times and be like, okay, let's close this out. Let's go in here. Let's listen to our dog bark and like, okay, where is that? Okay, that was actually Zealous Dedication. Do I want that on my bar? Yes or no? Okay, and then I'll go all the way back in here and I'll be like, okay, Zealous Dedication, click. Okay, and then we'll click all the ones that we want. And then we'll do the drop down and we'll click the bar that we want and then we'll click add selected buffs to bar. And there you go. Once you have selected all the buffs that you want for all the classes that you play, remember that you need to go through Zealot, Ogryn, yada, yada, yada. If you don't select the other classes buffs, nothing will appear there, right? But you will always have the weapon buffs because we added all of those at the start. So now we need to reposition this bar, and that means opening back up the F3 menu, and you will look for the buff bar with the name that you just created it under. So mine was buff bar 2. You can see it kind of peeking out behind this thing here, but there it is. And I just grab it, and then I position it where I need to, and tweaking it very finely to get it into the right position. Now, there is one last element that I just realized that I forgot to mention, which is my stamina bar, right? My stamina bar looks a little bit different than the usual one. It's a different color. It's white instead of being that sort of off green, and it doesn't have any text on it. And this is all done via HUD Tweaker. I mentioned earlier that HUD Tweaker is a very, very powerful asset. It's a very powerful tool in your kit. You can use this to modify the text or the configuration of literally every other mod in the game. And so this one, if you want to change your stamina bar to make it look like this and get it into the correct position, it is under HUD element blocking. So you'll look for HUD element blocking, which I just closed out, where did it go? And then you've got the shield. This is the bars themselves. So you can actually go in here and you can change the color of the bars. You can make them completely invisible. I don't know why you do that, but yeah, you could do that. Then you can come down here and the gauge is the little bracket going around it. I kind of like the way the bracket looks to show me where the full value is so that it doesn't like kind of look like lopsided when it's on the screen. And I also went through here to change the color and make it white rather than like an off-white greenish color. And I also went through here into the name text and I selected visible and then I unchecked visible. See that? I removed stamina because I know that's my fucking stamina bar. I'm not stupid. Okay. So that is the whole setup, guys. Hopefully that got you through the whole way. This is going to take a good amount of tweaking to get it exactly just so, but hopefully at the end of the day you have something that you're very satisfied with. Remember, it doesn't have to be exactly like mine. Mine is not perfect by any stretch of the imagination. Just get it good enough. All right, that was kind of a weird impromptu video. Thank you for sticking with me, guys. I hope it really helped, and I hope you have cool buff bars. It's still down there. What the fuck? What is going on? Is it gone now? Yeah, okay, now it's gone. It has to refresh sometimes. Okay, good. All right. Thank you guys very much for watching. Make certain you're subscribing to the channel. Appreciate all of you, and have a good one. Bye.